Dusty, snap out of it!
Any of this look familiar?
Our constellation contact is on approach.
Yeah, but come on. Exploring space? Who does that anymore? Ain't the space we've already got complicated enough?
Welcome aboard the Starfield Report podcast. Well, how many of you blokes let me die?
Welcome back to the Starfield Report podcast. I'm your host, Kenneth Smyson, and as always, with me is Jax Wiley. How you doing, Jax?
Doing great. Good morning, sojourners and travelers of the blackest sea. I'm glad you're joining us this morning. I hope this day finds you well.
As do I. It's been a busy couple weeks in our personal lives. I've had a lot of life stuff going on with work and whatnot. But Jax, you were at GaryCon.
I was at GaryCon. What is it? 17. So GaryCon is a Dungeons and Dragons memorial celebration of Gary Gygax. Gary Gygax is the man that one of the small handful of people that helped develop the original Dungeons and Dragons back in the 70s. He passed away, and his son, Luke Gygax, now holds this celebration of life in his father's memory, and thousands of nerds descend upon Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, at the Lake Geneva Resort, and play Dungeons and Dragons and other dice-rolling tabletop RPG games for almost an entire week. And man, there's nothing like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been to rock concerts and all kinds of stuff where there's big crowds of people and you're always kind of looking over your back and a little nervous. Go to this place, it's all these nerds. I've never felt safer around a crowd of people in my entire life, you know? So it's a wonderful, wonderful time.
Nice. Yeah, I played D&D for about almost a 2-year stretch. It was 4th edition, which have they pretty much pretended that doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
either play 1st and 2nd or you play 5th.
Okay.
My crew are a bunch of old school oldies.
Yeah.
And we all play 1st and 2nd edition.
Okay. Yeah, I have no frame of reference for the other ones, because I was introduced to 4th E, and as with
If you've ever played Baldur's Gate 3, the video game,
no.
well, that video game is based on the rule set of 5th edition's Dungeons & Dragons.
So like
And
the
it
combat
follows the
mechanics.
rules it follows the rules really, really close. The spells are really, they basically wrote the player's handbook and the monster man, or the player's handbook and the dungeon master's guide into the code of the video game.
Okay.
To make all the rules, to make all the dice rolls behind the scenes, and for everything like that. It's all 5th edition rules for Baldur's Gate 3.
Is it a turn-based game?
Yes, Baldur's Gate 3 is a turn-based game. Dungeons and Dragons is, yes, it's a turn-based game, but it's a live discussion game. You're all sitting around a table having a discussion, basically developing a story and make random decisions.
Okay. So in 4th edition, I was a Dragonborn character, and I was a battle mind. I was the tank, and that I remember that class was just a ton of fun to play. My friend played also a Dragonborn, so we decided our characters were going to be brothers. And then then my other friend had a changeling, which a wizard, but our Dragonborn characters they're so simple-minded. We were just like, oh, you're just a witch, which annoyed our friend. It was all in the role play. It was a ton of fun. We were all orphans at an orphanage, and what we did was once our characters grew up and exited, we got to like level, I don't know, 4 or 5. We took turns being DM for like 3 to 4 episodes. So we didn't have like this one long story, but all of us wanted to play a character. But so the only way to do that was each of us to be a DM. And at one point I had this great idea. Oh, I'm going to have a 3-way battle between a dragon, a lich, and then the party. But because of a little custom story artifact from a previous campaign or story, which these were all 3 to 4, play sessions. They were just, short little mini stories. This one of my friends made this lich end up or it might have been a demon, but this guy ended up owing my friend a favor, and totally on one hand it kind of screwed up that session for that night, but thankfully we were pretty much done playing because we were supposed to start the battle, but my friend basically ended the battle. But I turned in the week after that, I was able to turn things around in my favor as the DM, and then
tends to happen.
Yep, and then my friend's character ended up going off to another realm. It was we had so much fun with that. So, but we're the Starfield Report podcast. Maybe we should talk about a little Starfield. But yeah,
back to where we're supposed to be, right?
Yep. Yeah, I do hope to make it to some cons and stuff like that. But living in Redding, California, we don't. I mean, I could get to the Bay Area in like 3.5 hours. Sacramento 2.5. So I can make it to some stuff. If it comes my way. All right. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to do a little mod talk like usual, and we're going to be talking about missions 12 through 15, I believe. So
I believe that's right.
Yep. Okay, so my mod is actually one I have not used yet because I just saw Bethesda had tweeted out about it a day or two ago and I haven't played since. But it's called Ship Crew Assignments, and the assignment mode for crew members where you have over 80 animated, custom buildable, invisible, assignable objects. And they're music and soundtracks, and so you can control your ship crew work schedules and stuff. And now I've wanted this for the longest time, because I like the idea of certain characters being in certain habs. I run the functional infirmaries mod, so I want Rosie Tannehill, the doctor, to just stay in the infirmary, right? Yeah. Because sometimes I'll go in my massive battleships, and they'll just all be congregated in one random hab. Like it'd be. Yeah. I don't typically have that issue. They usually move out of the way decently for me. But yeah, it's like if they're all in, stuck in the control station or whatever, it's like, dude, guys, disperse. Go sit down, go do something. And so I'm looking forward to this, getting this mod up and running and testing it out. So obviously I'll have an update here in the hopefully the next episode I'll have an update. But as a creation, it should be achievement friendly. And let's see, it's done by Lauren Kayar, it looks like here. And the fact that it's, in the creation menu, it means that everybody should be able to have access to it just fine.
Is it a paid mod? You're on, huh?
Well, it's in creation, so I don't know. It doesn't say anything on the website here about it. So I can't imagine that would be a paid mod, though, to be honest. It's not adding any content to the game. It's just adding some functionality. But, I mean, it would be nice, because I definitely would like to be able to assign people to certain places.
All right, so in this session, we are going to talk about the quest, starting with Mist Beyond Measure. This is after the tragedy that happens. And so now we're setting up.
Somebody died. Oh, I forgot to tell you.
You let it out of the bag. Oh no! 2 years. Now everybody knows it.
Well, if they missed last episode, I guess it's on them.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, though. Did you see that poll I did in the Starfield gaming community Facebook group?
I did.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but I was involved in the poll.
Yeah, it was I
What
specified
happened where?
on their first playthrough. Let me get the wording directly. During your first main quest run, which constellation companion resigned from your party
Right.
during high price to pay? I didn't want to directly spoil it, right? Now,
Yeah.
what's interesting is the number one choice, probably sitting around 40%, was Sarah. Then it was Barrett, who probably pulled in about 20%. Then Sam was probably about 15%, and Andreja was less than 10%.
For some reason, all the guys go for Andreja. I'm there too. I think she's a great companion. She's attractive. She's smart. She's witty, and she lets you kill people and doesn't mind. So that's always a plus in my book for a girlfriend.
I mean, she basically thinks you're going to hell because you're not, a member of House Varun. But I mean, she still loves you, But yeah,
work on that.
Yeah, she was my wife, and she died in mine, right? Which we talked about, I think, in the last episode. But what this tells me when you look at this poll is most players, granted, I mean, what's the percent that's men? Probably 70%. Probably spent a lot of time with Sarah and a lot of time with Andreja, and then which meant their number one affinity person stayed on the eye, and their number two went with them. So I bet what happened is for most of the guys, Andreja stayed at the eye. They had to take Sarah with them. They get back, and then Andreja's up there, and so they all leave to go up to the eye to save Andreja, and they get back to the lodge, and Sarah's dead. That's what I think probably happened. Because in my case, I was at the lodge with Sam, and I didn't leave because it made no sense to go up there to help them when the hunter literally says, "I'm on my way to you right now," and that and so at that point, that's why Andreja died in my universe. But yeah, just a little fun data point. So, anyways, back to Miss Beyond Measure, as you were saying. That's the funeral.
Yep. So it tells you that is it Noelle says Noelle is going to put together a memorial service. So, and it says you'll wait a few in-game days and then check back and go back to the memorial. So there's a little bit of time for you to kind of play around in the city or go do a side quest or whatever, but you got to make it back. Because the first time I played, I forgot about the memorial service and went and did like the entire Crimson Fleet quest line and came back and it was over. I missed it. I'm like, oops, sorry guys.
Yeah, that had to have been what happened to me, because on my first playthrough, I never got the funeral. And I remember going back and talking to her, and I was continuing the main mission though. Because when I start a larger quest like that, I focus on that. I don't go do other faction quests. I might do one of the side quests just to kill some time. So I don't know if but in this case, I do remember just plowing through the main quest, thinking, "Oh, I'll come back." But when I went back to Noelle, I didn't have the dialogue option. So I'm wondering, at that point, do you just have to just fart around for 5 days, right?
Yeah, and if you keep an eye on your quest log, if you go to your inventory and look at your quest log, it'll actually tell you return to memorial service. It'll click. Okay. Instead of wait for memorial service, it'll click to the next thing and say return. So then you go back and then the cutscene will happen. Not a cutscene, but everything will start up. The action will start, and I think they give you the constellation members' clothing. Memorial stuff. Like if it's Sarah, you get her outfit. If it's Sam, you get his cowboy hat and whatnot. And so you get a few things from the member that passed away.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that was.
If you miss it, they just give you the stuff and move on.
Yeah, I remember just getting the stuff. That's right. Yeah, I had her outfit, which was okay. It's like I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to put it. I wouldn't. Even hypothetically, if I decided to pursue Sarah for a relationship, I'm not going to put the outfit on her. Like what? Like I just threw it in my captain's locker.
Right.
I mean, I could see like if the character was like your friend who died, or something, or even I could see players wearing Sam's hat or something. But yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
But Sam's hat you can get as a regular thing. That's the settler hat, I think.
Right.
So you can just find that anywhere.
When
Um,
when Sam died for me on my first playthrough, I did get his outfit, and I think I did wear his outfit for a little while. Just it wasn't any kind of like memorial towards him. It was this is a
Yeah.
pretty cool looking outfit. I think I'll wear this for a while.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm going to try to see if one of my old saves might have that to go back and see what the funeral looks like. Because, confession, I botched that again this time. Or I don't know if it's bugged, but on my new character here, my pilgrim. Who died? Sarah. Or wait, who died on this? I'd have to go double check. I think it was Sarah Barrett, because I didn't do much of anything with, and I didn't do any of I haven't taken any of them as companions, and so I think it was by default Sarah, because she's the one you kind of spend the most time with on that one quest you have to take her with you.
Oh yeah. At the very beginning, when you go and get the very first artifact off of the pilot front windshield.
So I'm pretty sure I went to the scow with Barrett because I think he was the number 2 affinity. Yeah, but yeah, so it's cool that they have the funeral. It kind of reminds me of there's a wedding ceremony in Fallout. Was it Fallout 4? I think there was a wedding ceremony you could do, or it might have been Fallout.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think that was one of the things I was really into.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, man, I can skip that one.
Yeah, it's just cool that they have like kind of that touch of personal life, because especially after having a death of a character, because you got the funeral that you can do, which I mean this segues us into the next quest, which is Unity, where Mateo talks about how Keeper Aquinas from the Universal Sanctum preaches about the Unity. So you go to talk to Keeper Aquinas.
Yeah.
And
what does Unity?
Yeah. What does Unity mean? Is there some clues that could be there? And it was really cool because it coming out hot off the heels of the action and the high price to pay mission and all the high emotions. The story just kind of, it's a good from a narrative standpoint. It's good to kind of have a breather. Slow down. Let's talk about things. For a player that wants to just run around and shoot things, probably not the biggest fan of this quest, but I really liked it because of that.
Well, this gives you some lore, and with Starfield being a new IP, you got to have this stuff. This is going to be some of the base for Starfield 2, Starfield 3, all of the Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls. They've got a ton of lore. Where did that come from? Well, it came from the earlier games.
Yeah.
This is the base platform for all of the lore and the legend for Starfield. So they've got to sprinkle this stuff in and start putting lore out there somewhere. That's what Shattered Space is. This is a lot of that. This quest of Unity, when you go and you start talking, and this is kind of the basis of some of the religions in Starfield. And so you get a little bit of lore and background of what these different religions are, what they mean, why they're there, what the differences are. It's if you're not a lore nerd, you can just run right through it. But if you're a lore nerd, there's a lot to look at and read, and there's a bunch of I think there's quite a bit of documentation you can read as you run through this.
This is the quest where he sends you to talk to. Yeah, Keeper Aquinas will then tell you to go talk to somebody at the House of Enlightenment.
Yep.
And then that prisoner from the House of Varun that's in the brig there on New Atlantis.
Yep.
And so you get a perspective of each of the 3 like religions, where House Varun are the Zealots, the Universal, they believe in God, although they don't specify any which God. And then you got the Enlightened. Yeah. And then you've got the Enlightened, which they're more philosophical. They don't believe in God, but they're just, for the better of humanity, we're going to be good. And so it's cool that they have like kind of 3 opposing,
Right.
religions, essentially, that create some tension and conflict in the universe. But no, what's weird though is when you, if I remember right, on my first character, I think I had Andreja with me when I went to talk to the House Rune person, and I was hoping, because I knew she was for Rune, I was hoping that there would be more there. I think depending on how you talk to that person, that she will like what you have to say, because she died on my first main when I first played. She died, but I reloaded a save to make sure Sam died. And I started playing, and I got to that. I think this was the point in time where I actually decided to reload and just accept her death.
Yeah.
Because I do remember having her with me at one point during talking to that person. I think she'll have like, oh, Andre should like that, depending on how you're talking to the House of Rune person. But she doesn't step in. If I remember right, she didn't step in and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm House Rune too." La 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 la. So it would have been nice for them to have a bit more of that, but yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people, not a lot of people, just in some of the chats and Facebook rooms and different places and walls, whatnot, have mentioned that they had hoped that there would be more direct dialogue when you run into stuff like that. With any one of the four main companions, just picking somebody or picking a background doesn't seem to have as much weight as maybe some of the older Bethesda games.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so once you've talked to those three people, then you piece the clues together, and you realize that by taking segments of words out, it names a specific solar system and then the specific planet. So that was what was that solar system?
Orbit?
No, Endum. Because it was the words infinitum appendum, and so you take n and endum, and there was some numbers, so it told you which planet to go to, and then you find the was not the Pilgrim. What was he called? Yeah, it was the Pilgrim. Duh. So you find the Pilgrim's little hideout, and he hasn't been there for God knows how long. But there's 5 writings of his that you can find in there, which then, oh man, we can't. Well, we're about to get into that quest next. So, spoiler alert.
The first time I played through this, it took me forever to find all those writings. I was so turned on. I was looking in the same room 3 or 4 times and skipping this other room because I wasn't oriented to the play space, at this point the first time. And so I was getting turned around real easy, and I would go outside, and then I would go in through the other door, but it was the same building, and I would look on the same desk, and I'm like, I can't find this stuff. Yeah. But I found it eventually. The second time, it was easy run through, boop, 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 just pick them all up.
And what's annoying is the first time I found them out of order, and I was reading them, and it's disjointing if you don't read them in order. But so once I had them all, then I went back and read them in order. I'm like, okay, this all makes sense. And now the question is there's they've never revealed the identity, and this is spoiler alert, folks, for what we'll say here, but they've never revealed the identity in the context of the quest of who the Pilgrim is. So it's up for debate in the Starfield community. But the number one theory is that it is Keeper Aquinas. Of course, we also know is the Hunter.
Yeah.
And so, which we're going to talk about in the next mission. But and some players think that the Pilgrim's actually an alternate version of you. Have you seen anything concrete on that, or do you have just your own opinion? Or
I don't think that deeply about games. To be honest with you, I just take it as a storyline and move on. I think we had talked about the other day that you as a person that enjoys writing.
Yeah.
You tend to look very technically at the writing, at the storylines, and it's a very technical part of the game for you. For me, it's just flavor to get to the next thing. Yeah. So, and that's the way I typically play about. I was going to say, well, maybe it's the dude that invented the grav drive in the first place. You know what I mean?
That would be cool.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't put all those pieces and sat down and tried to put all the pieces together to actually form, a workable theory. I would just go along with whatever you happen to say. I'm sure that sounds good.
Yeah. I build ships and I shoot things.
That's right. And I have fun doing it. I've
Yep.
had a lot of fun doing it.
Yep. So, so then from the Pilgrims' little camp, you go to the Hylas system, and there's this like thing on the ground and there's a control panel where you control the little beam of light to
Right.
the tail, which
It's be like a scorpion tail pointing down, and
Yep.
it's got a light that comes down and goes to the floor.
Yep.
And
then
so you can spin the floor plate, and it'll shine. Is it the floor plate or anyway? The beam moves to different planets.
Yep.
And gives you an idea of where you need to go next.
Yep. And then where you need to go next is meeting with the hunter and the emissary. Because we've had you've not met him, and well, the hunter you had the firefight with when he kills one of your crew members, but emissary I don't think you've technically met yet in person. So you fly there, and is this technically the next quest at this point? I think.
In their footsteps, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. True. Yeah. So then you meet with the hunter and the emissary. Spoiler: you realize the hunter is a starborn version of Keeper Aquinas. Although there's some theory that Keeper Aquinas, as you know him, is already starborn, but he's chosen to settle in the universe you're in, which is why he seemed to be a little more knowledgeable and able to figure out what that code meant.
Right.
Give
you hints.
Yeah, so the hunter is Keeper Aquinas, and the emissary, you find out, because up to this point, the voice is fairly modulated with some kind of whatever speaking through their helmet, is whichever companion you had that just died, it's that person. Right. So I like the reveal for the companion part, and what the emissary tells you is that before they had become starborn in your universe, is that your character died in their universe, and they were the one that finished the starborn quest to go through the Unity and everything. So that was that was all cool, but I do wish you had spent more time with Keeper Aquinas in previous missions, because it happens so fast where you talk to him, he helps you solve this little riddle, and I mean, sure, you could go find him if you wandered around and talked to him before then, but you're not forced to come across him until this point. It would have been nice for them to have you interacting with him more frequently, so that way when you find out the hunter is the starborn version of him, you would kind of flip your shit a little bit more, like, holy crap,
Right? This whole time?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, that's a nitpick, But, well, and here's another thing I checked out right after I did that quest. I went back to Keeper Aquinas to talk to him to see if there's any dialogue option like, hey, I just saw you in space, or, oh, there's another alternate universe version of you. There's no dialogue option with him on that, which, which is why there's there's debate as to who he is, because we don't actually know, because they've never answered it. So then therefore it's not settled. So that's why the debate continues.
Right. And that's kind of some of the stuff this is a huge game. And to be able to cover every single solitary answer and question and every little, thing, that's a lot to ask. I know that, you run in these specific instances like you're talking about, and it would be nice to be able to go back and have them actually play off of that last quest and go, oh yeah, I knew about that, or yeah, let's keep this between ourselves, or something. But
I mean, it's a nitpick. I mean, obviously still love the game. We're literally doing a podcast because we love the game. But as I see stuff like that, and I'm like, maybe the game could have had another 6 months of development just to polish up little things like that. I don't know. and this will segue us right into the actual conversation that you have with the hunter and the emissary aboard one of their ships. I think it's on the emissary ship.
The Helix, right?
Yeah, I think they both look the same. But yeah, you find out that the hunter is Keeper Aquinas, a Starborn version of him. The emissary is whatever companion just died, and they both have an opposing view of the artifacts and the whole point to Starborn. The hunter, he just wants to trailblaze, get all the artifacts, grow in power, and kill anything that stands in his way, which is basically only other people that want to do the same thing.
Right.
The emissary, she wants to, or he, depending on who the emissary is for you, they just want to collect all the artifacts and basically be the one that decides who gets to go on to become a Starborn.
Yeah, gatekeeper.
Yeah, they just want to be a gatekeeper because you can't have all that power, which is interesting. I ethically think that's wrong, but because Hunter went through and just indiscriminately killed, I did, I don't like that. And so on my first playthrough, I did side with the emissary because it was Andreja, which was all version of my wife. So I might have had some heartstrings going there that made me go in that direction. And I believe to a certain extent, I do think there's a place for a more democratic approach to how you handle that, a certain measure of oversight.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that. I couldn't pick either one of them. And every time that I've come into this situation, I'm not able to, because one side, this guy is just like a murderous jerk that I can't go that way. And the other one, you're a dictator gatekeeping the universe. And so I'm like, well, you're both wrong. I'll take it all for myself. I can do a better job than either one of you is always the answer I have.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel. That's just my kind of outlook on life. I know better for me than anybody else knows for me.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I think on my second universe, because I stayed distant from Andreja, because I was kind of role-playing, like, I don't want to get close to this woman because she looks like my wife, but she's not, right? I think Sarah ended up being the emissary. And I still sided with her. But on my recent NG plus, let's see, I'm now NG plus 4. On my recent one, I really started kind of questioning my decision to constantly side with the emissary. And it's because, it's not a good idea to have just one person in control deciding the fate of others. And so I think going forward, I'm just gonna say nope. Which ironically is in a way turning me into a version of the hunter, because he's just going after the artifacts and power, and that's literally what I'm doing. And I'm killing every Starborn in the way. But also, from a roleplay perspective, you know how you always have that one Starborn that pops up after you come out of a temple? Yeah. From a roleplay perspective, on some of those temples, when it spits you out, you're a little bit distant from them. I won't fight and kill them. I only kill them if they try to attack me. So that way, I'm kind of justifying my.
Usually, they like ambush you right as soon as you appear. You get your power, and they're right there, and they're ready to ambush you. But you're right, like the one where you take Barrett and get Barrett's power. That one lands on the ridge and walks down, and you can avoid him if you want.
Yep. Yeah, and that. Yeah. Well, what's interesting though, and kind of sad, is it would be nice for you to be able to go and talk to random Starborn out there. Every Starborn you come across, they're always just wanting to kill you. But the fact that you come across, little groups of 3 or 4 of them when their ship lands, proves they're willing to talk and engage and interact with each other. Right. So it would have been cool to see, like, some subdivisions within the Starborn faction, where you have some that are pro hunter, some that are pro emissary, and some that are the third option, right?
Well, it's funny you say that because the next DLC coming out is, rumored to be called Starborn. It might go a
Okay.
little deeper into all of that.
Okay.
And maybe you end up with a Starborn faction that we can actually adventure with and run into and be part of.
Okay. That would be really cool to actually kind of open up that can of worms a little bit more and dive deeper into the Starborn lore themselves.
Total speculation on my part.
Oh,
What I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have any inside knowledge. Nobody's coming and talk. Todd doesn't call me and ask for my permission.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They had a Dragonborn DLC for Skyrim because you are the Dragonborn in that game, so it makes sense to have a Starborn DLC and kind of get into the history of the Starborn. Which,
And again, laying down some lore for future games that you can understand exactly why it is that we're doing these things. How does this work? Yep.
Yeah, once we get to the last mission where it's actually going spoiler, going into the Unity, all that, we will definitely have like a lot of discussion around the big picture of what that means for the Starfield game, in the lore, also just the game itself, also the future of the franchise, right? So I look forward to that episode. That's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the conversation with the hunter and emissary, where you kind of decide which one to follow through, I think you'll have a more permanent decision you can make later on, if I remember right. But at this point, you're still just kind of learning information. Emissary tells you to go to NASA on the moon to get the answers about the grab drive and everything and all this. So I didn't do that, unfortunately, because some of these quests take place at the same time. So you'll have a couple different options in your quest log, because we wanted to save Entangled as its own episode next time. However, when I went into a solar system to get another artifact, that's when I came across the satellite that has the signal to go help the people during the Entangled mission. So I thought I was current. I didn't realize I still have to go do the NASA quest. So I'm one mission behind, but you can take the reins on this one. I remember a fair amount of it decently, but go ahead.
All right. So they kind of task you with going and uncovering Earth's past. Before you make a final decision of who you're going to trust and whose side you're going to pick, go check out your own past. Go look at your own past. Go look at yourself in the mirror. Go look at humanity before you judge the Starborn. Go look at yourself. So you got to go to Earth. You got to go to NASA, and it's there that you start reading the slates and the computers, and it explains how we came across the technology for the faster than light grab drives. Turns out, do you want me to keep going?
Oh yeah. We're spoiling.
Okay. So what happens is it turns out that one of the doctors that got this knowledge ran into, I think, the emissary, and gets this knowledge that your Earth is going to be destroyed, and so you need to have this technology to become multi-planetary species. Leaves out the caveat that if you do this, you're going to destroy the Earth, and so you'll have to be multi-planetary species. So this doctor is trying to thread the line of feeding information to NASA to develop this technology, but at the same time as they're developing it, it's destroying the magnetic fields on Earth, which is causing a faster and faster disruption of the magnetosphere, which keeps all the ultraviolet rays and the UV rays from the sun and blah, blah, keeping the Earth habitable. So we're speeding up the demise of Earth by developing the grab drive, which allows us to become multiplanetary.
Yep.
So that's the trade-off. And you can do this one, most of this one, before you get to Entangled. But on my mission log, I've got 3 of them. I've got Entangled, I've got Final Glimpses, that's finished all the way up to the point that says complete Entangled,
Okay.
And then I've got Unearthed, which says, talk to the emissary, leave NASA, go talk to the emissary, and then it says, complete final glimpses. I can't do final glimpses until I do Entangled. So
Yeah.
I've got these other two stacked until I can do Entangled.
Gotcha.
And that's going to lead us to the point of what we're going to do between now and our next episode is we're going to experience this Entangled quest. It's quite involved. It involves a lot of time travel and skipping and moving around, and you can finish it like at least 3 different ways that I know of.
Yeah, it's a pretty involved quest, so we'll be able to deep dive. Now, so for this NASA mission, if I remember right, you first go to the moon, then you have to go to the surface of Earth, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they were tested. The moon was the test site for the grav drive, but then
right,
you dig enough information there, then you have to go down to the NASA center.
Right. Cape Canaveral, maybe in Florida.
Yeah,
and
most likely. Yeah.
Building and dig through the rubble.
Yeah, what's really fun is climbing to the very tip top of that NASA tower. It takes a while, but it's like kind of like this little just Easter egg jumping puzzle of sorts. And there was some loot up there. As you're doing, and that's the thing, as you're doing this main quest, you come across the what's that set called? Explorer spacesuit and the helmets, and you progressively get the better versions of the spacesuits. I'm not a fan of the spacesuit, but I'm definitely a fan of the helmet. I like to wear that helmet on my space trucker along with the ground crew, the bright orange spacesuit.
Yeah,
and I got a really cool shot of the sunset from up there because with the thin atmosphere on Earth, like just the sunsets have this really pretty look to them.
Yeah, I like my favorite suit is the Seeker. I just like the way that the helmet comes down and it's kind of I don't know what you would call it. It's very bug looking. It's blacked out though. It's the visor is very sloped and blacked out. If you get the mod Falkland Starship manufacturers or something like that, the Falkland mod, you can sneak into a back room and it comes with the outfit. That's the Seeker outfit, but they've reskinned it with their own color. So it's instead of being all black on black, it's white with orange highlights. So the visor is orange. You can see your face.
Okay.
The suit is white with like orange over the shoulders and orange under the armpits. And I think maybe down the inside of the thighs of the legs is orange. So it gives you a lot more of the UC vibe of the orange, but not the blue. It's the white. And I really like that uniform. Plus, you can get a T-shirt and jeans that's branded for that mod. You can get like a pants and a holster with a jacket on, kind of Han Solo kind of a vibe.
Okay. That's pretty sweet.
Poncho that you can throw on over other outfits, and then you can throw this poncho on over it. So there's some pretty cool stuff. And there's one Easter egg in there that when you go into this back room, you find all of this merch back there, and then you find this one by itself. And there's a note that says, hey, the manufacturer sent us this wrong stuff. Send this back and get the right one. Well, that's a totally blacked out outfit. That's like Sarah Morgan's outfit, but it's all blacked out. That's the one I wear.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I'll have to check that mod out then. Yeah, I mean they do need to have, just like you can recolor your ships, repaint your ships, they need to allow you at least change the colors of your clothing. That would be such a simple way where you can create
It's in the game.
Yeah.
It's already a section when you're modding your guns or your outfits, there's a section for skins. It's already there.
Yeah, for the weapons for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's there definitely for all of the spacesuits and the outfits. So either I was listening to this conversation this week about this exact thing, and either one, they got pressed by the developers to put the game out. You can deal with that later. or 2, they specifically made that and set it aside for modders. Look, we've got your framework. It's right here. You guys want to make skins? Boom. We've got your framework. It's set. Just do it.
That makes sense.
I don't know what the thoughts are. Either way, it would be nice to have skins.
Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of weapons that, like the cutter, you can get a couple different skins for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a handful of them, but not nearly enough.
Yeah.
If we can customize this huge, beautiful ship, why can't we do that to our spacesuits?
And there's a lot of outfits that you walk by and you're like, that's kind of cool, but I don't like neon green and pink.
Yeah. Yeah, change the color to it. Yeah, like there's the so I created my assassin character again. Because I accidentally deleted her. She was only like level 7 or 8 maybe when I made her a while back, so I hadn't lost a lot of ground. But I remade her to get her set up for going through some of these quests, like the faction quests, right? And so I got her all the way through Neon City, doing every single side quest, and I'm basically pretending that the Argos Vectera mission comes way later in our career. So eventually I'll get around and get into that. So I get to Neon, and technically my character doesn't have a ship, nothing, right? Obviously I've got the Frontier. Well, I got her to level 10 with right around 94,000 credits. Doing a little Bastillon. She's a Neon Street Rat. She's a Ronin was the background I chose for her. And her Ronin, she's we'll get into that some other time when I could really, that's a big tangent if I really go down that rabbit hole. So I'll save that for another time. But all that is to say is I have that poncho that's the kind of the orange one that has the triangle up front, right? It comes over the shoulders. There's a really nice looking kind of coat thing that's solid white. And I think there's a couple other color options, but I wish that came in black. Because she's starting off with the poncho because she's kind of rugged, she's poor, she doesn't have a lot. She's got the little sleep crate, right? So far, that's the only house she has. And so, but eventually I do want her to have some nice stuff. I'll get her some of the Ryusian stuff when I go to do that quest line at some point with her. And yeah, so she's been a fun character to play with.
Right.
Yeah, but this pilgrim character for the main quest, I almost regret now at this point I should have just been doing this on my main guy just to go through another, NG plus with him, because this pilgrim character I'm just not having fun with. I chose unarmed combat and shotguns, and if you think the melee is sparse in the game, the unarmed is there's nothing. The amount of times you get up close enough to be punching somebody to death is extremely limited and low. And then you're just not doing enough damage.
Well, you got to build up your concealment, because that'll give you, by the time you're done with your concealment, it's times 8 damage for unarmed.
There is a bonus for that? Okay.
Yeah.
There's
concealment and there's stealth. And the two of them, I think both of them build on top of each other. And you can have a huge multiplier for unarmed if you build both.
Okay. That I knew there was the stealth meter. I didn't realize there was concealment. Is that under the same skill tree?
Yeah, it's down towards the bottom. It's the
third tier. Okay.
It's hard to get down there because there's not a lot in that skill tree that you want. Yeah. And you're almost supposed to waste points just so you can get down to the level to get the ones you want.
No, there's some good ones in there. There's the one that there's the resist your damage resistance for physical, damage resistance for energy weapons. So there you can get down there with. There's a few of them, but that definitely would change it.
Let's see here. I've got it up right here. At 3rd rank, you get 3.5 the normal damage. At 4th rank, 10 times melee sneak attacks do 10 times normal damage at the top rank.
Now, when it says melee, does that also apply to unarmed?
Yes. Normal damage and your melee attack. Ranged sneak attacks do 4 times normal damage, and your melee attacks do 10 times normal damage. Engaging the slow.
Okay, I would have to assume it would include unarmed then. I would like to think it would at least.
I would, yes. I believe it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. At rank 3, it's 8 times your normal. At rank 4, it's 10 times your normal. Let's go up here to stealth. Stealth says interact with stealth. Alert enemies. Okay, so that's more 50%
Just-
sneak attack
yeah.
damage. Yeah. So your big friend is going to be the concealment. That's the one you really want.
Okay, I'll have to look for that then. I mean, even then, this character, it just ended up not being fun playing him. I mean, I chose to be like a pilgrim, but with the caveat that his background was in the criminal underworld. So now he's a pilgrim, House of or Universal. Oh, that's actually something cool. So that if you take the Universal trait, when you go to meet Keeper Aquinas, he gives you an outfit that gives you a health regeneration.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously, it's an outfit, so there's no, well, your spacesuit, which you can hide the appearance, you can turn off seeing it. Obviously, you get most of your stats from that. But if you're playing like a strict role play and you're, having a outfit that,
pilgrim
that heals you, so yeah, I might. I don't know if you can find that suit anywhere else, but it's his outfit and his hat. He gives that basically to you. I don't know if his looks a little different. I didn't put it on. I just saw the stat and I thought that was pretty cool.
So if you get the boxing skill, right?
Yep.
Unarmed attacks do 25% more damage, 25% less O2. That's rank 1. By rank 4, you're doing 100% more damage. And then you've got concealment on top of that. If you do a sneak attack, it's 100% more damage times 10. That's 1,000% more damage.
Okay. So basically, if I hadn't been lazy and actually looked at the skill tree, I would have realized. But even then, the problem is getting in close proximity. I'd say like 80% of the guys you come across or more have guns. It's not like Skyrim where half the people are melee, and then there's a handful. Then there's a good chunk that might have your archers with bows and crossbows, and then your mages. But yeah.
Well, so if you do the Realgen quest line,
I haven't done that one yet. Okay. Don't spoil.
All right. I'll stop.
Yeah,
there's some stuff that you'll be interested in.
Yeah,
you'll find some neat there.
Yeah. Well, so with my assassin character, I'm the main reason I'm creating her is to eventually get to that one. That'll be one of the last quests she does, and so right now I'm training her in melee, and so she'll be using swords and sniper rifles and maybe pistols. I might go with pistols to be like if I don't know, we'll see. But the thing is with her, once she's going to be, she's not really an evil person, but she's going to be a pretty dark character in her first universe because of just, her upbringing, her life, everything. So I'm going to choose like the selfish actions, the bad actions. I'll side with the fleet when I do that quest, right? But she's, I totally lost my train of thought. She's a fun character. I'm looking forward to playing through with her. Yeah, sniper rifles and swords, maybe pistols.
Yeah. Well, this is a game. We're playing it to have fun.
Yeah.
If you don't like the Pilgrim, delete him.
I know I'm going to delete him. It's going to be sad. Sad because of the wasted time on him. I mean, I could have literally just gone through the main quest and got on my main character. Just not telling them I'm Starborn, and that way I could go through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And oh well, I learned my lesson.
Well, I've literally only had 3 characters, and only 2 that I've played consistently.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I could just turn around, delete, bloop, start over. I may have to do that when my new Darkstar game overhaul mod comes out.
We'll start a new one up.
Yep.
Yep.
It's gonna be scary.
Yeah,
It's all right.
Now technically now I've got 4 characters. My main character, my space trucker. Then I made my combat medic to specifically do the UC Vanguard and the Tracker's quest, but I didn't realize the Tracker quest was going to be one they're just going to piecemeal to us over time. And then any side quest he comes across that's about providing aid to people because he's a combat medic, Then there's my Pilgrim, and then there's my Ronin. Now my Ronin, she'll go through the main quest eventually, because I do want to see what the Crimson Fleet quest looks like. I do want, and every faction quest has a major choice at the end, right? With the Fleet, it's the most obvious one. You either side with the UC Sysdef or the Fleet,
right?
And so I'm going to choose to side with the Crimson Fleet with her. But eventually, in her quest for power, she's going to do the main quest of the Constellation. And when she goes into the Unity at the very end, she's going to be overcome with actually the kind of the not regret, but the guilt, because there's all those little stations you can go up and the Starborn version of you says like, oh, this is what's happening now. And so that's going to be like her turning point to where she realizes the damage she caused in this universe. So when she goes into the new one, she's still going to have a bit of a selfish streak, but she's going to go through every single quest again with her. She's still going to pursue power, but she's going to choose the good option. And then she's going to settle in that universe. She's not going to move. She'll just stay in G+1. She'll never go in G+2. And then that way I can, because as we're doing each of the faction quest lines on our podcast here, like especially the Ryujian quest line, Shattered Spaces, I've got a plan for that one too, with my main character, of course.
And I'm not doing any of those yet with my main, with Jax Wiley, my alternate.
Okay.
I'm going to work through those with our podcast. So
okay, cool.
This will be the character I go through and sprinkle all of those through. If I can keep it running that long, it's starting to hiccup and I may have to go through the Unity and then bring him along a little bit and then do the side quest in a new universe.
Oh, okay.
And as a reset so that he's
just to clear out your bugs.
Yeah, because of all of the item numbering kind of a bug that they've got in the game where you got 10 million different items by the time you get through to the end of the game, and it just has a hard time tracking all that stuff.
And that's the trippy thing. So when I went through the Unity with my fun fact, I got my alternate universe for the first time, although to be fair, I reloaded till I got it. And I have a video on my YouTube channel, and I went into the lodge, and it was the Hunter. I didn't realize he was one of the options. I've been spoiled on a couple of what the other options are, but I didn't realize he was an option. So that was interesting. He just gives you the artifacts. I'm like, okay. See you later. Kill you later. Or,
Right. Kill you later, buddy.
which
I've not watched the video, to be honest, and I will do that.
Yeah. What's interesting is what that tells me is that particular Hunter, obviously he's never died before, so he's probably come across you plenty of times and killed you plenty of times. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't know this is going to be the time he actually dies. Yeah. So I've got all my characters lined up now for each of the quests. Well, my Ronin, she's going to go through all of the faction quests. So when we do UC Vanguard, Freestar Rangers, Crimson Fleet, and Ryujian, she'll go through all those as we do them for the podcast here. So that'll work out pretty well. And because now that she's left, I'm about to have her leave Neon City, because there's one mission that you leave Neon City in. It's the Reliant Medical one where he wants you to go pick up some supplies and come back. So now I've got 94,000 credits on her.
Go to the clinic, right?
Yeah, you go to the clinic, pick up some supplies, and come back. So I've got the Frontier, which I'm going to scrap that and remodel that, and so I'll be able to at least use some of the stuff in that maybe for her first ship. And she's going to be the first character I have that's going to be, as much as possible, exclusively Teo ship modules, which that's my least favorite, but I want to challenge my shipbuilding skills and have fun with that. I
saw a new one that's got redesigned interiors for the cockpits.
Oh, Okay.
So if you don't like the Teo cockpit, check out this new mod. I'm trying to think of what it's called. For something for the crew, something like that.
Okay.
But it's got redesigned interiors that are pretty cool.
So the exterior looks the same, but the interior is just changed up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, so she's about to leave Neon City and continue doing. She's gonna go to the well and do all the side quests there, and then transition into from there the UC Vanguard. Because now that she's on New Atlantis, I'm just gonna kind of headcanon. Oh, she discovered that if you join the UC Vanguard, you can get some sweet new stuff for your ship.
Right.
So that'll tee us by the time we finish the main quest here. I think we'll probably go into the UC Vanguard because that's, I would say, the most popular faction quest.
So it sounds like her character arc is she comes from nothing, and so she's fighting for the underdogs and fighting for the poor and fighting for the underprivileged. And so that's kind of how her outlook is.
That was kind of her original trajectory until she's an orphan. She has her mentor was a Ronin who got killed by the disciples on Neon. Have you done that side quest with the Strikers and the disciples? Oh, it's a fun little 3-mission quest. And so basically you get introduced to the Strikers, and they're like kind of they used to be the top dog gang, but now they're not. And then because there's the disciples, which are like, these guys are like just psychopath kind of level. So there's 3 missions. Get a little bit of stealth, a little bit of action, a little bit of role play. So that was the last quest she just did, and I intentionally did that because the idea was my character, she needs to build up some experience before she takes on the disciples because they killed her Ronin mentor. Right. So she's got this dark streak in her now, and I won't spoil the Strikers quest for you here, and certainly not for the podcast. But there's the way that ends, I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. But my character, because of her motivations through that quest line, she is not happy. So that's why she's going to leave Neon City and not come back. She's going to do the Reliant mission where she goes to get the supplies, brings them back to the doctor, and she's not going to come back to Neon City. She's done with Neon City because now she has a ship. And so, but she's going to go to the well because that's like an underground vibe, kind of like Neon City, you know? Mm-hmm. And so she's going to go into the well, spend some time there, discover the UC Vanguard, and join up. But she's still going to be very selfish. I don't want to spoil the UC Vanguard quest line, but you know, there's 2 major decisions you can make in that quest. She's definitely going to choose the most selfish, you know. And then when she gets to the Crimson Fleet, she's going to side up with the fleet. When she does the Freestar Rangers, she's going to choose the debatably the more evil end to that one. And then whatever the decision in Ryushin, I don't know what that is yet because I've never even done that quest. But that'll be her final quest. So as we go through each of the faction quests, we'll be able to get through all these with this character, which will be fun. So I won't be wasting my time.
Just as far as, I don't know, it's like my least favorite place to go.
Where is?
Neon.
Neon? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just find it so scummy.
Yeah, it's fun in the right context. Aquila City is the only place I really don't like to go to. It's always wet and I've never seen it rain. Why is it always wet and it never rains? It just looks like they have sewer problems in that city. It's like, which is weird because I relate and identify pretty good with the Freestar
Rangers.
The Freestar Collective, just, you know, not so much the Rangers, but just their way of life and everything. Personally, for me, that's a little more like, I'm more like that than New Atlantis and United Colonies, right? But yeah, you kill Aquila City's a shithole. The town is disgusting.
And I was watching a mod this week on Aquila City too, and it's like Aquila City paved or something like that. Oh. And it puts sidewalks, and you can either have paved streets or you can have dirt streets with still mud puddles, but sidewalks around everywhere. Okay. It cleans up the place. So there's a new mod for that.
Well, so when my space trucker, my main dude, gets to NG plus 10, whatever, once he's maxed out all his powers, I'm definitely going to settle in that universe, build outposts for him, which I've never really done because I'm always, I'll build like some legit ships with custom interiors, decorated, and I'm gonna fix Aquila City.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, we had a good time.
Thank you.
What's that?
It's so fun to be able to share this stuff with you. It's somebody that has a like mind and a like desires, and you say something like that, I'm like, yeah, just the thing for you.
Yep. Yeah. The community for Starfield is good. It's obviously smaller than Elder Scrolls and Fallout, but it's like you were saying earlier, it's the first of its franchise, and so there's a lot of foundation being laid. I could see them doing a Starfield 2. It'd be interesting how they deal with the whole Unity and everything, but I could see that just being like a side quest. We were talking about that on our phone call. Well, yeah. When we get to the end of the main quest, we'll definitely deep dive into that.
Right.
Alrighty, folks. Well, we do hope you enjoy this episode of Starfield Report podcast, and let's see, our next episode coming up sometime in early to mid-April. We're going to be doing the Entangled mission, just the Entangled mission. So if you have any feedback for the Entangled missions, send that on in. That'll be an interesting, probably a lengthy discussion because of some of the nuance to that quest. And other than that, folks, I will see you later. Jax, any final words?
Glad you guys joined us. Send us any kind of feedback. We'd love to see your bases. We'd love to see your ship builds. And just remember, drive fast and take lots of chances.
Yep, and you can send all your feedback into starfieldreports@gmail.com. Other than that, folks, take care. We will see you in the Starfield.
Bye.
Now that was some fine work under pressure.
Get out of here, Dusty. You're on to bigger things.